I think it works.
I don't know. Who do you Another question, real quick. Uh, do you think that got Delta will unlock her Shinjutsu? Because they said that every car member was implanted with Shibai cells. And Amado's, I mean, sorry, not Amado's, Kashin Koji's didn't activate until his near death experience with Jigen.
This is
Or Shiki, I'm
definitely
so sorry.
a longer topic because I have a lot to say on this because I also wrote down the same thing. Is she going to? When is
Yeah,
she going to? Boro, obviously,
right.
he's already dead, so he's not going to count, or anyone else for that matter. So I already thought about this. Actually, okay. Free game, would you mind if we came back to this topic as like a part 2 to a topic that leads into this topic?
Um, sure.
Okay. So, Kamui. First of all, Kamui, are you talking? I just want to
No,
make sure. Okay, so
can
we
you hear me
can
though?
hear you. Okay, yeah. Okay, just making sure we can hear you because your thing was going green. I don't know if you
Yeah,
were
no,
like
yeah.
trying to
It's
speak.
sometimes
Okay, okay,
I'm making food, so it might just like be slightly picking up things.
that's fine. So I wrote down in Boruto topics the most recent thing. Rewatching the flash forward scene, Boruto is talking to Kawaki. Boruto says something fascinating considering the events of the current chapter. Boruto says
Yeah,
to
I actually love
Kawaki,
this.
was this the only possible outcome?
So
On
I,
on
I
on
we
surface value, we know no, it's not the only possible outcome. We definitively know that based on Kashi and Koji's thing. This leads to a slew of questions. First of all, this probably wasn't written at the time, so that's the thing. Maybe they're just going to change it. But that also leads into the possibility that what I wanted to bring up last night, but this is also another topic. But is it possible that the flash forward scene is one of the hypothetical failed futures that we actually never get to see in the first place, and it's never actually going
that'd
to
be the
happen
worst
in
thing
our
ever.
timeline? That's a possibility
Yeah,
as
that would
well.
be so stupid. That's so stupid. But it's a
Yeah, they should not
possibility.
do that.
Wow.
Possibly yes, but they should not do
No.
Well,
that
it could
ever.
be. It could
But
also be a future sight that Boruto sees that he then tries to prevent, considering he sees the events of how it. So we would still get the full
that's
fight
still
itself.
not that's still bad. That's bad writing. It's terrible writing.
Well,
Please don't do
hypothetically,
that.
we saw the worst possible
Please, yeah.
future, and now we're trying to
Or
prevent it.
writers, if you hear this, don't do it.
And so in this case, we would see the entirety of the worst possible future, and then Boruto would be working now to prevent it. Similar to Dragon Ball, you think the Cell Saga is good, right? Free game, despite future Trunks
Yeah.
trying to prevent and actually succeeding in preventing the worst possible future.
He never did because the worst possible future did happen when Zamasu actually appeared, but go ahead.
Okay, well, in reference to the androids, which is the obvious point of that, he did indeed prevent that in Cell. So there you go.
Well, no, but okay, so obviously this is a little bit of like a theory here, but I think Boruto's gonna end up in that Kawaki position, but obviously he's gonna prevent the end game of destroyed, devoured chakra fruit nonsense. So it'll be like happening, but get to the end result of the worst future.
Okay.
Is what I'm imagining.
There's more interpretations. Another one here is that, and this is the one that I don't like, which is why I'm going to present this now, considering you guys don't like my idea that the flash forward scene's actually fake all along. So my idea is I'm just gonna double down on Mello's theory and say Kashin Koji is the most evil mustache twirling villain in all of Naruto, and he's lying through his teeth to Boruto. And this Jipo ability that he has, this new ability, it just doesn't exist. He lied about it conceptually from the get-go. There just is no multiple timelines or anything, no possible potential future to prevent. He's just manipulating Boruto entirely, and Boruto finds it out.
Okay, but how would he know about the Thorn Soul then?
Some other means, which he's not revealing to Boruto.
I mean, that would be interesting. I think honestly, the best way to play into that would be if Amato hears like the interrogation of Boruto in the next chapter, assuming they do that next chapter, and he's confused about the Jipo. He's like, what is he talking about? That doesn't exist, or something like that. That would be really interesting.
That would be cool, bro. I want Momoshiki back now. to talk about. That's cool.
Either way, I want Momoshiki and or Amato to be paying attention to Boruto's interrogation. I want to see their thoughts on everything, regardless of what their thoughts are.
So here's where we start getting into the more interesting interpretations. So yesterday, I think it was Mello. Yeah, it was Mello. He was saying that, and I completely agree. So my thoughts was that you need to remove Kashin Koji from the story as soon as possible, because this ability breaks the story. He's got to go. You literally have to kill him. Just like how Mello's saying you have to kill Ada. I think you actually, in this case, you do have to kill Koji as soon as possible for the story to proceed. If they aren't going to go that route, I think something interesting they can do, rather than revealing who the player is playing against Koji, because in this case, Koji is playing chess, you do need another player for it to be a story, for it to be interesting. The other player doesn't need to be revealed. It can be anonymous. So there can be someone else with this 10 directions Jipo ability, and again, we don't need to know who it is. Koji and Boruto also don't know who it is, but the point is, they're interfering, they're changing the timelines, they're doing it intentionally. Koji knows this, so it is quite literally the battlefield of destiny that Koji's describing it as. Now there's two players, one who's actively going against Boruto and Koji to try and create the worst possible timeline. Thoughts on that?
That would be interesting. This was under the hypothetical that Koji doesn't die anytime soon, right?
Yeah, exactly. I want to say this is
honestly,
what
that would
Tokyo...
be interesting.
I want to say this is what Tokyo Revengers is, but that's still my theory, that the main antagonist in that show, Kiseki Teta, has the time travel ability just like the main character, and we just haven't been revealed that at all yet. But that doesn't seem to be the case based on what I just saw from Tokyo Revengers. But anyways, that's a different topic for a different story, for a different franchise entirely, for another day. For here, I think it'd be really interesting if we just don't know there's someone else who has it, but it becomes clear through time that someone does, and we don't know who it is. So it's like a mystery game, almost like we are L trying to find Kira.
I was gonna make the same comparison. It's just like Death Note in a sense.
Yeah, I love it, bro. But no, it'd definitely be interesting.
No, I will say,
someone trying to help Jura, for example.
Yeah, like that definitely could be cool. There's a lot of candidates for that. Like you could use Amato, you could use Shibai, you can use another Itsuki.
In fact, Amato works perfectly because not only does this make sense for the events of the Ishiki arc, how his plan clearly didn't make sense in the same way that we're making fun of Koji for it not making sense. And that's in reference to the fact that they just believed the Hokage would be able to defeat Ishiki. When the Hokage isn't even around in the first place, but that's besides the story. It's like, this also goes in line with him being sussy and having all the information and being able to use Shibai cells and all this other stuff that he just knows and has. The fact, okay, because all the members of Kara have Shibai cells, Delta or Amado would be the perfect candidates for this. So Amado awakening the 10 directions ability to fight Koji, considering Amado and Koji have already had this sort of relationship, betrayal, backstabbing, fight against one another, antagonist sort of dynamic dilemma set up already through the Ishiki arc. This would be the perfect direction, and Amado's already presented as like a perfect chess player, considering he's presented as narratively significant compared to Shikamaru, for example, who's like the genius. So I think Amado as a strategic person could already have this ability, or he could unlock it at some point very soon. And he's the one going against Amado for his own intentions, which is going to be revealed at some point later. Okay, before moving on, what do you think about Amado in particular being the one to have this ability and to go against Koji in this way?
Amado's, well, he doesn't necessarily even have to have the ability, but Amado is probably my first pick candidate for this.
Yeah.
My second pick would be like you bring Urashiki in this manner.
Okay, I love it.
Urashiki.
What do you think for a game?
Yeah, I'll take any Urashiki.
I would say Amado because, like, why will Amado give his creations, all the abilities, not give himself like the most elite one, just for the sake of them possibly what I'm trying to say, possibly revolting against him.
Okay, yeah. No, I think it works perfect for continuing what they've already set up in a very clear, focused, and direct manner, rather than just ambiguously, they're trying to fight each other because one backstabbed the other in some betrayal situation. So how are they even going to fight if not through some means like this? Because they're not going to fight directly, obviously. So it's got to be through something like this. I thought at first it might be through omnipotence, but I don't think it's going to be through that anymore. I don't know if he's immune or not, but I don't think that matters as much anymore. Actually, that's interesting. I just thought about this. They have Shibai cells, and they aren't immune. That's interesting.
Yeah, because they're
Well,
not.
just because they
They're
got
just
the
not
cells doesn't
Osuski
mean
enough,
they're-
basically.
Yeah, about to say, yeah, just because they got the cells doesn't mean they're Osuski.
Well, but that's the thing. Is it like Otsutsuki enough? Is there a percentage threshold? Or do you just have to be like 1% Otsutsuki? In which case, does having Shibai cells not make you genetically Otsutsuki? It just adds on to your body instead?
Yeah, I want an explanation on that, because at face value, it's like you need to be a little bit more specific.
Because, like, Danzo took in Hashirama cells. I'm not going to consider Danzo a Senju.
Exactly.
Or an Uchiha, considering he took in the Sharingan as well. That's the same idea. But that's interesting. But getting back on topic, so Amado would be interesting as well, considering the Kawaki relationship that Amado has as well. So the Kawaki Amado relationship is going to be very interesting if he has this ability and he's tying the strings, moving the strings. I don't know, playing the string. What is it? What's the terminology that I'm trying to get to? Pulling the strings. That's it. Pulling was the adverb I wanted. So if Amado's pulling the strings, especially for Kawaki, I think that's interesting considering their relationship. Moving on to Delta.
Of course he is.
I think Delta might be my preferred choice, even though Amado is extremely close, and I would love it to be Amado as well. So Delta, I think, is my preferred choice, because this is going to parallel perfectly Boruto's situation. In the same way Boruto is looking up to Koji, who has this ability to tell him what to do, Kawaki, moving forwards, can look up to Delta to tell him what to do. Almost in the same kind of role. This is important considering Kawaki and Delta's relationship, and tying this in with Amado as well, considering Kawaki is supposed to, or maybe already has, give Delta the Karma Seal to turn back into Akabi. In fact, Akabi Otsutsuki at that. So maybe even Akabi comes back and then she has this ability, or she just awakens it. Or how I would have rewritten it personally, considering they did this just now, I would have had last chapter, like we were saying, Jura to have entirely defeated Delta. She's on the brink of death, and we get revealed next time we get to meet up with Delta that she's awakened her ability when Jura did this and she's on the brink of death, just like Koji. Because I thought it was also interesting how Koji didn't awaken this through a struggle or persevering or anything. Koji was not only going into this prepared to die, his only goal in life, he convinced himself that he was created to kill Jigen. And he did that. He accomplished his life's goal. He was willing, prepared, accepting death. He sat there accepting death, waiting to die. And so it wasn't a thing of struggling against that, of him overcoming his fate. He was accepting his fate. Everything Ishiki said, he was like, yeah, no, I agree, bro. Kill me. It's ridiculous. But so it's something else. I think it has to be something along the lines of being on the brink of death for whatever reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's your chakra gets disrupted to some extreme, enormous degree when you're on the brink of death that gives you some crazy different boost in some regard that manifested the awakening of the Shibai cells in regards to the manifestation of the ability. But I don't know. I mean, we can stick on that for a minute. What do you think? Why did Koji awaken the ability at that time? Is it just coincidental timing? Is it the Shibai cells, or is it entirely separated to where it actually is an omen, fate, destiny thing that he did break by surviving?
I mean, obviously it could be any of them, but under the hypothetical that the near-death experience is necessary, but they didn't know this, perhaps Code awakened his by almost dying from the Karma Seal. And perhaps Ada and Damon just had, I guess, a really adverse reaction because they were kids who got it. And so they almost died, and that let them awaken it. But then, like, Boru, Koji, and Delta were, like, adults, normal people.
Yeah.
So they just didn't awaken it.
I'm wondering
the
why
problem,
some
though, is
awaken and some
with
don't.
Delta and Boru have been considered near death in their fights where they almost died. Like, Delta almost dying to Naruto.
Well,
Is that
maybe
not near
Boro
death
did
enough?
awaken it. He just died before he could use it.
Maybe blowing up like a big balloon was his ability.
I love that so much. It's so hilarious. If
That's
we
a
ever fight
Shinjutsu.
Shibai, I want him to blow up just like that, and that's his ability. He blows up and he puts on Deepa's armor. He's got like an octopus chest piece looking armor.
Yeah.
But
So why don't you guys think Deepa got it? Like maybe because he was a lower. Remember, he wasn't in the
because
car.
he's filler.
He was
That's
the
why.
inner.
He doesn't exist. That's why.
Wait.
Manga wise, all right, got you.
Yeah.
Yep, different timeline. Anime isn't
Like-
canon. Sorry to say it. I wish it was. I was fighting for it. They've proven, despite what they say, they don't want it to be the case. So
Well, it's
So do you
canon.
guys-
It's just a completely different series.
actually,
Do
I
you
kind of like
guys
this.
think that
Oh, yeah.
do you guys think Code is going to play any significant part in the story in the future?
Well, yes.
Oh.
I mean,
That
you
reminds me.
answered
That was the
simply.
other character. We
Yeah,
haven't
there
seen Code since. He, in theory, could have become a tree too. That was the other person I was thinking of. But I'm not gonna say
Oh,
that'd be
yeah,
good,
yeah,
but
yeah.
like in theory, it's possible.
No, I would think that's interesting. Yeah, I think that's fine. Well, maybe I don't know. I would see. I would want.
What if it's
have to do
Code that's the new Shinju? That would be crazy, right?
It'd be crazy, but people don't like Code, whereas I do, and I think they would waste his character if they did that.
I agree. Like I want him to be Code, not the Code Shinju, but I'll just recognize the possibility that he is a candidate.
Yeah, not that it wouldn't be cool,
Mm-hmm.
but it is still wasted opportunity. Getting back to Deepa though, what if his ability? What if Hidan did have a Shinjutsu, his immortality, and that is what Deepa awakened there in that moment? I know it's a little bit of a retcon, but like hypothetically, what if the reason he was just floating, existing as a head, isn't because Amado Jigen saved him? It's just because he just lives like that. He's just fine existing like that.
That'd be awesome. But then, like, how did they kill him when they flushed him down?
They-
Yeah, he actually just didn't die.
No, they didn't flush anything. They flushed down his nutrition. That's what they did.
Yeah.
All right. Going back. Okay. So going back to the whole, Amado has the 10 directions ability in the same way that I think someone else might. I think Delta might. Going back to this, I think this would, again, perfectly parallel the relationship between Boruto and Kawaki, because Boruto has Koji, and Kawaki has Delta, who might
And so you
become
think that-
Akabi Otsuki. Bro, Regan just can't
Real
hear
quick,
me. I swear to God. What's up, Kamui?
I think before you just get too far, I think rather than Amado or Delta having the same 10 directions
Bro.
ability, they would probably just have a
Bro.
different Shinjutsu, one that might be similar. Like instead of, I know Ada can already see the present, but let's just for the sake of the example, maybe Delta has she can see everything in the present ability, and pretend Ada doesn't have that. I think it'd be something different but similar, because so far it's been each current member has a different Shibai Shinjutsu, and I assume they would keep that going, but it could serve basically
Yeah.
the same purpose, they're gonna say.
That's
I
fine.
just think they would have a slightly different ability at the very least.
That's fine.
I would forget.
So the reason I also think this would work as well, not only just like, I think Delta might just be a little bit better, because Delta also has a relationship with Koji. That's her previous partner. So in the same way that Boruto and Kawaki used to team up and are now going at it, Delta and Koji, who previously teamed up, are now going at it. And even when Boruto and Kawaki were teaming up, even then they were like going at it, at least squabbling a little bit, in the same way that Koji and Delta were squabbling when they were still teammates technically. So I think that is also another dynamic to work with, especially if Delta and Koji figure out each other have the ability.
Well, so actually, on this note, I got an idea for you then. So this one's going to require, at least in part, Mello's kind of idea about Koji kind of being like manipulative and stuff. So he doesn't necessarily need to be a villain in the sense. The point is he'd be tricking Boruto. just like how Koji was manipulating everyone in Kara as a traitor. He's the rat doing his own thing, and Delta's sussing him out. You could have Delta awaken whatever XYZ ability, and through that, she finds out that someone is a mole, and she suspects Kashi Koji or whatever. So you could do like a round 2 of that dynamic
That's
almost.
cool, bro.
Where
I
Koji
love
has to
that
try
as
to
an idea.
outsmart Delta again.
Yes, bro. Rather than the Shinju, have it be Delta. I love that as a concept. That's freaking awesome. But I think this is
And the
almost...
reason why it works really well with Delta, though, is because Delta really is the same as Koji. Rather than a Divine Tree person, which obviously I want some dynamic between Koji and the Divine Tree as well as Delta, but Koji and Delta are literally the same situation. Amato made clones of A or
Both
B
of them.
person.
Yeah.
You know,
And-
they're the one and the same. So it's a perfect person.
And
to
they're
do
the
this with.
only two in Kara who are like that. And they're also teamed up together. So I think that works out perfectly with that dynamic.
They're also, well, 2 of the only 3 of Kara alive.
Yeah.
Goat's still alive.
I think this battlefield would be freaking epic. It'd be like a sports match to where it's Brain versus Brawn, or Brain and Brawn. Brain and Brawn connecting. To where Boruto and Kawaki, they're doing the physical battle with Koji's Toad and freaking Delta's triangle sitting on Kawaki's shoulder, giving them intel. It's like a sports match to where Kawaki and Boruto are the players listening to the coaches. And realistically, it's the coaches battling it out through the players. The players just bring
I was trying to think. I know there's an
ability
example that I just can't think
training.
of off the top of my head right now. And one of the shows I've seen, the only problem with this is, okay, let's be real, Delta's not the strategist. Like Koji's dog walking her.
Well, it's not in terms of strategy. It'd be in terms of telling them what the future is as it's actively changing in real time, as Boruto and Kawaki are actively changing each other's futures.
Like Boruto's gonna use the Rasengan Usahiko. Oh, Kawaki's gonna use his ninja tech eye.
Bro, I mean, that'd be cool. I like the idea. Maybe not quite like that.
So
I love the concept at the very least.
Yeah, no, I like the little dynamic idea with Koji and Delta. Yeah. At the very least, like bare minimum, I would like to see like some Koji Delta interactions again. Maybe Delta suspicious of him all over again, because like it's not like Delta really ever got resolution with Koji. Like she suspects him as being sus. Then she's like, hey, Amato, Koji, if I find out you're committing treason, I'm gonna kill you. And then Koji's like, I'm gonna kill her, bro. And then Amato's like, no, we're putting her to sleep. Like, since then, Delta's not seen Koji.
But then, especially if we're going with the theory, like conspiracy theory, crazy idea that Delta is somehow Kawaki's mom or whatever, or Akabe was, then if we're going with that, that's like the mother figure, maternal. At least, at the very least, it's like a maternal figure for Kawaki, whereas Koji's like a paternal figure.
Yeah, I think it's
Boruto.
awesome.
Yeah, and then they both have like father issues to an extent, or like parent issues, abused as a children to some extent, both Boruto and Kawaki. So yeah, I think that works perfectly as well, and that dynamic. And then, so okay, this next aspect is where it gets crazy, because I think if they do this role in particular, because I think this works a lot better if it is Delta rather than Amato. I think the Delta Kawaki combination would overcome and defeat Boruto and Koji. Also, just the fact that I also want to throw this out there. If Delta awakens this ability, then Kawaki can just train extremely quickly in the exact same way that Boruto did. So that can be how
or
Kawaki
whatever he needs to do to get to that level. Now, what I will say though is we can just use the compromise position here to where Delta has the ability, but it's still Amato who's trying to make the chess moves. Like, because maybe he sees potential in Delta's ability. Maybe he's the one questioning stuff going on with Boruto. Is like, this is strange. You know, you figured out Kashi Koji, whatever. So Amato could be the chess player while Delta's the one with the ability. And then, like, you know what I'm saying? So you can just kind of implement both.
Well, an aspect
get best of both worlds in that case.
I would like, because in this case, the power between the two, it's going to be the teamwork is what's going to be what comes out on top. So it's Boruto and Koji's teamwork combined as one unit, essentially, like how Naruto and Sasuke, when they fight as one combatant against Momoshiki, is how it's described. It's like Boruto and Koji are like one combatant in this case, in the same way Kawaki and Delta are going to be one combatant. I think it'd be really interesting if Kawaki and Delta's teamwork just overcomes Boruto and Koji's teamwork, because maybe Kawaki and Delta, again, through this pre-established relationship, it would just be stronger based on whatever paternal, maternal instinct is there, as opposed to someone like Amado who wouldn't have that relationship with Kawaki.
Yeah. The other thing is, Kawaki and Delta have been like tagging along together, like all of Two Blue Vortex. So the idea of this little dynamic isn't really far-fetched, just because it's like, well, Boruto's been with Koji all this time. Who has Kawaki been with probably the most in Two Blue Vortex? Delta. He's been flying around with Delta everywhere they go. She literally won't leave his side. So with that in mind, you've got the obvious Boruto Kawaki parallels. You have the whole Delta Kakashi Koji clone thing. Who are they tagging along with? You know, it's definitely like an idea there. I think it would be good to have a contrast between. We brought this up before about how Delta finding her identity thing.
Yes.
Especially, this works especially well if she is like Kawaki's mom, like, or the clone of Kawaki's mom. Because then she has something to question about herself, something to learn about herself to form her identity. Meanwhile, you've got Kashi Koji doing his thing, but he's going to do it in a different way. In his case, he's got his whole shinobi tool, blah, blah, blah nonsense. In Delta's case, she might be thinking more of like a motherly sense. So you're getting a very different dynamic, because Delta might treat Kawaki as her child, whereas Koji is treating Boruto as his tool. And so in this sense, it almost makes Kawaki and Delta, it's really because Delta, but it makes Kawaki and Delta's side almost like the better side. And that's going to bring some sort of downfall to Boruto and Koji, assuming they go this route. And then Boruto has to realize that and overcome it and blah, 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 blah. But I like the idea.
Yeah. Sticking with this battlefield idea, I'm going to explain something, and you're not going to like it at first, but I think you're going to come around to it. So starting off with context, I understand that Koji is the wise one and Delta is the simple-minded one, so much so to the point that they use it as comedic relief. I get that. So yes, Delta isn't the strategist, whereas Koji is. I understand. But this isn't about intelligence in general. This is about the strengths of how they use in one specific particular aspect. When you write a character in screenwriting, usually you want to give them one thing that they are better at than anyone else in the entire world. And so this could even parallel, going back to Naruto versus Sasuke, Sasuke the smart one, Naruto the dunce. It's possible Delta is better with her ability for whatever reason, whether it's being able to predict the unpredictable, or doing something that's so unpredictable, telling Kawaki to do something that's so unpredictable, that it's risky rather than Koji playing it safe, and that risk-reward factor is just higher for Delta. Also, I'm sure you're gonna love this aspect, but maybe Delta is just better at, like, predicting the future than Koji is. So Koji can see the future and he'd be like, this is what might happen. But maybe Delta can predict and say, this is what the future is. This is how I think the future is going to change based on how I assume Boruto's going to change the future. So then maybe Kawaki can be a step ahead based in that regard, based on Delta's strength, not in terms of broad intelligence, but in terms of this being her one specific niche thing that specifically she is good at. I'm done. Thoughts?
That's one possibility. Another possibility would be, I'm just trying to think of things that can like counter. If Delta's ability, because again, I don't think it should be like 10 directions. So whatever her ability is, could somehow in just some shape, form, or fashion just counter Koji's ability, at least in this battle context. So that way, it's not like she has an unfair advantage almost, in a sense. and because of that, like they're going to win. Now you implement story things, so like that would be like the plot why they win. But within the story, you can use the whole thing I was saying, like Koji treats Boruto as a tool, while Delta treats Kawaki as like her child or whatever, or a friend at least, and that can be like the story of why they win. But in the plot, it could be like she just literally has like the counter to Koji in some manner.
The stupidest
that
counter.
That could also work, I think.
This doesn't make sense, but the stupidest counter would be that Delta can see every future that is impossible, every future that can't exist. So when Koji changes,
I was trying to think of something earlier. So I was like, maybe like instead of seeing all possible futures, she can only see the one future. But I was like, well, that'd be too OP. Then she just knows.
That's just Momoshiki's foresight, but we'll get to that as a different topic.
Are you guys saying like if she up? So you guys saying like she upgraded?
Basically, yeah, just the upgraded version of the ability. I think it could work.
I can't remember then.
Jipo, it's
every
it kind of seems like Koji has that, like the miss. She can't see the future.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Freaking! You just gave me the perfect idea.
Everything that happened in the past before she was born.
Okay.
And while she's alive.
Oh, you just hyped me up so much for a game. Get this. Okay, a little bit of a rewrite here. Okay, well, not rewrite, but just theory, maybe even. This is what I want to be. Koji's ability is 10 directions. Delta's perfect counter. Her ability is misdirection. Bro! I love that.
So what would it do?
I don't care.
Could it be
it's just the ability name itself?
Okay, I was gonna say what I was about to describe would just be like Genjutsu, but I was gonna say maybe it makes other people see false futures. Like it just does. Like awesome. It's like Genjutsu, but it's just like automatic. She just has to look at you, and that person will see false futures. Bro, so it like misleads them.
Yeah. You said say it again. So I was saying Koji's ability is called 10 directions, and Delta's counter, her ability is going to be called misdirection. I love it. Okay, either way, so sticking with this route, I think that in this case, Kawaki and Delta would be the ones to defeat Boruto and Koji, so they're defeated. However it comes about, I think Koji should die, if not here, then at some point, because of this defeat. So then we're only left with Delta and Kawaki, and again, going with my plot twist rewrite to where where Kawaki is the worst possible future for whatever reason, in his pursuit of power, or because he wants the ability for himself, or maybe Delta turns against him. Delta sees the future and is like, "Oh, I don't like how Kawaki turns out. I'm gonna stop out." Either way, I don't care how it is. So Kawaki, through some means, eats, absorbs, kills Delta, and just gains Delta's ability. So now the only one with this ability is Kawaki. So in the flash forward scene, Boruto can't know what the possible outcome future is because he doesn't have a Koji to tell him. And now Kawaki's the only one who can know if this is the only possible outcome, adding meaning, weight, and depth to Boruto's question for Kawaki.
Well, that definitely works, but I don't think that's necessary for the depth. I think there's plenty of other ways.
Well, I'm just saying this is my way of getting there for right now.
Okay.
And then we don't even know what his Jogan ability is, too, though. So that's...
Bro, it's gonna be, instead of the 10 directions, it's gonna be the all directions. You're gonna have everything.
No, to counter Kawaki's misdirection, it's gonna be D-direction. It undirectifies the direction. No, that'd be even better. Be no direction. There's no future.
Hey,
no direction.
Do you guys think that